Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to another episode of Boonaafide here with Boonaa Mohammed exclusively on DOPStv. Is it just me, or have people become way too sensitive? Like, we've gotten to a place where we would rather not talk about anything taboo, anything which is remotely controversial, because we don't want to hurt people's feelings, we don't want to be called extremists, we don't want to be called insensitive, we don't want to be labeled Wahhabis if we talk about anything which might make a few people uncomfortable. Because we know that if the general population hears something which they don't like, their natural instinct is to gather up a digital crowd and make an entire spectacle out of it. And our attempts at becoming politically correct have become so over the top that if we do talk about certain subjects, we're going to be deemed as extremists, as radicals by many, and if we don't talk about other subjects, then people will persecute us and say, oh, you're a sellout, you're getting too soft, you don't want to speak the haqq. Say, for example, we want to address the issue of obesity, okay? For whatever reason, we feel like it's an important topic and we want to start talking about healthy living, having an active lifestyle. We want to have khutbahs and seminars and programs around getting fit, getting active, and doing what you can to take care of your body. But you can't actually talk to a person who is overweight or who is obese, because if you do, then that's going to be considered fat shaming. And because of that, we're not able to actually address these issues head on with the people who actually need to hear it. Especially as Muslims, we've been taught to not be outspoken, don't say anything which is going to get you in trouble, and especially don't say anything which the white people might hear and take out of context. But what if I really do disagree with something? What if I find something troubling in our community amongst certain ideas or thoughts or people? Am I allowed to actually challenge them and talk about this topic without having to be called a hater? And you know, the problem with these new age Muslims is that they will find every single fatwa under the sun to justify what it is they want to do anyways. Because of that, when you do challenge them, they'll just tell you, brother, look, only God can judge me. Of course, judgment is between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the moment somebody starts spreading incorrect ideas and beliefs and opinions which are actually very harmful amongst our community, and they start passing this off as something which is legitimate or permissible in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that matter no longer is between them and Allah, that matter is between them and the entire ummah. Now, I actually blame the overzealous amongst us who take this notion of enjoining the good and forbidding the evil to an extreme and are more interested in humiliating people than they are with actually guiding them to the straight path. But giving advice, nasiha, is a real thing. Prophet ﷺ said, ad-deen al-nasiha, that this religion is based upon sincere advice. But the problem is that people have become so hypersensitive to getting feedback that even when you do offer them advice in a sincere and a kind and polite fashion, they just don't want to hear it. And I feel like that's why we have so many taboo subjects in the Muslim community, because we would rather walk on eggshells as opposed to actually addressing matters that are important head on. And our own attempts at political correctness, trying to make everybody feel included or inclusive in our discourse, means that we're actually reinforcing a victimhood culture where people oftentimes miss the cold hard facts of the discussion because they're too busy playing victim, trying to be offended by something which may or may not actually have occurred. And this appeasement to the hypersensitivity of some members in our community is actually like a wet blanket that puts a damper on any type of critical thinking. For example, I know of communities where the khatib is not allowed to talk about riba in his khutbah because there are members in the community who the board knows actually use riba in their everyday life. So as opposed to educating them and bringing proofs and having this discussion and critically thinking about the topic, they would rather not talk about it and not offend people who potentially could be giving them their donation dollars. The more sensitive we become and the more unwilling we are to actually accept sincere advice, the more we're going to find major problems stacked up against us because we're just not ready to deal with them. So in conclusion, everybody, please just take a chill pill. Seriously, I mean, we don't all have to cry every time you think you have a boo-boo. And sometimes discussing controversial or taboo subjects in our community actually serves a greater purpose, even if it makes you feel uncomfortable in the process. Jazakumullah khairan for watching. Stay tuned for another great episode of Boonaafide here exclusively on DOPStv. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hold a second.
Number 4. Some Muslims think that if you suffer from some type of...
He only gives out the goat testicles to special guests. I'm like, what kind of host is this?